friends, and thank you once again for watching the Optimal Health Program. Hope you're doing well. As you know, we're going to talk about a variety of cool things today, also depending upon how cool the questions are from cool people all over the cool listening world. And Frank is here. He's cool. He just runs everything. This multi-million-dollar empire of bells and whistles.
A lot of buttons, Doc.
Plugs and electronic devices, which I have no knowledge or understanding of. So yes, we'll chat about a variety of things. Some cool studies will talk about menopause and how it affects the brain. Again, this is a study talking about menopause affecting the brain.
Not personal.
None of this would be my personal opinion. And I was saying something to a patient the other day about this because I grabbed the article, and I always grab interesting articles. And I was saying, so yeah, what happens is as you go into menopause and your hormones decline, your brain's affected. Oh, really? I was like, well, yeah, because if you're not getting your vitamins, minerals, and hormones, and all your tissues, oh, so women aren't as smart as men. I said, no. I'm not going to let you trap me into that. And then she laughed. So, yeah, it's what the studies say, and always have to preface that.
Got to tread lightly
so people can understand clearly. But it's pretty obvious that when your hormones decline, every part of your body changes. So you can visibly see what happens on the outside. You can't really see what's occurring on the inside. And when you get into, in some people, you get into the 30s and 40s, the hormones drop. Thyroid, DHEA, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, IGF-1 or growth hormone. And that sets the stage for how your body will do within the next decade and those thereafter. So for a lot of individuals, as they come in their 30s, we explain the process to them, we test and start correcting. And then we track these things. Because if your DHEA or thyroid or testosterone are 15, 20% lower than they were a few years ago, you don't want that to continue to happen. And as you keep the hormones in the right range, your body does better and better and better. So this is a big study. I took this off Medical World News, I think. That's a great site to go and grab articles from. That and Google Scholar, I always use that for article review. Talks about how menopause and hormone decline can reshape the brain. So they're looking at a variety of things. And of course, most women and men know that when the hormones drop, hot flashes, problems with focus, concentration, being tired, achy, all sorts of things can occur. But that's just the outward symptom. What's occurring inside would be your hormones are not getting to your cells and the receptors to create their result.
We already got a question here.
Yes.
Relating to hot flashes, why do hot flashes happen, and why do some of my women friends get them constantly while others barely notice anything?
So
like me.
It depends upon a person's need for a hormone level. So different women have different requirements. It depends upon what that level is doing. Sometimes women are a little bit higher than others, so they don't get the hot flashes. Some women go up and down a bunch, kind of like that car trying to get to the gas station. You forgot to get gas, you're running out of gas. So it sputters, and then it starts and sputters, etc. So the production varies, and some people just have a big drop, and they feel horrible all the time. So the easiest way to say it is that you have receptors on all of your cells throughout your body for estrogen, progesterone, DHEA, testosterone, thyroid. So when your hormones are in good range, the receptors are bound, they're bound, and a good biochemical reaction occurs in your cells as a result of getting that hormone that you so desperately need. When you don't get it, and your body doesn't have enough to go around, then certain tissues will start to make noise. Some people have aches and pains in their joints, and that may be one of the first things they see with hormone decline. Of course, men and women could have sexual function changes or sexual desire decline, hot flashes, problems with vision, skin changes, could be any number of things. And then evidenced by the specifics of each person that I would treat. When we start to make recommendations, I'll ask them, I want you to keep a symptom checklist where you write down on the left column of this empty sheet in the column, all of the different symptoms that you have. Then I'll make some lines in the sheet. So first week, second, third, fourth week, they can document what they see. And as we start to correct things and they get into a better range and we recheck that with blood, you start to see those symptoms go away. So an interesting issue, too, is that DHEA is a stress hormone, dihydroepiandrosterone. So it's an adrenal hormone. If your body is using it faster than you could make it, your levels are low, you feel stressed, anxious, irritable, and weird things happen. You might get hot flashes too. If you're at a younger age and you're still making the estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, okay, you'll have less symptom. But as you get older and you're making a little bit less estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, with the DHEA dropping, you feel much worse. We might first, in some women and some men, give them the DHEA and watch to see how that can balance the estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. It does that better in women because the requirement for testosterone in women is probably 40 on a blood test, and men need to be at 700. So DHEA is not going to give you that big testosterone amount that men need, but that may be all we need to do initially for women to get rid of those symptoms. And there are some women who want to be on hormones, some don't. So if we correct DHEA with a vitamin, that's one of the easier ways to start correcting the picture. And then if that doesn't go beyond where we'd want, then we may give testosterone as a pellet under the tongue, estrogen, progesterone, natural bioidentical cream. So the protocol depends upon the specifics of the blood test. And we recommend, and then you recheck and make sure everything's within the right range.
Got this question. Is it hormone stress or something else that makes it harder for me to go to sleep at night?
It's a combination. I can tell you directly the circumstance with hormones would be that IGF-1, the active component of growth hormone, which is your best repair mechanism. For men and women, when you're a kid, you have tons and tons of this in your blood. So you're taking from a baby within 14 to 18 years becoming an adult. That's massive growth. That's massive repair. And there's no other time, in life where that growth occurs from baby to an adult in such a short period of time. When your levels start to drop down as you pass your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, etc., you're not sleeping as well. Why? Because that hormone helps to make neurotransmitters that help you sleep. So the things that you lose when you decrease that one hormone, and then other hormones will add to it, would be loss of sleep, deep sleep, memory, focus, concentration. Hair, skin, and nail changes occur with that decline. Difficulty with exercising and getting through the exercise. Difficulty with endurance and strength, sexual desire and drive. So these are all hallmarks of that decline. If we bring that back, all of a sudden you're sleeping better. Your hair and your nails are better, growing a little bit faster. Your endurance and strength with exercise improves. All those things come back. We want to walk you back to where you were 10 or 15 years ago when you had great levels of those things. It also holds true that estrogen progesterone decline can affect sleep. And similarly for men, testosterone. So each hormone has its own little cluster of benefits, but they all overlap in certain areas. So that's why we take all of that into consideration when we do the hormone panels and the recommendations.
And we got someone in the chat just saying, help me fix my wife's mood swings and irritability.
Okay.
You're gonna get us in trouble.
I've heard that once or twice before. So, as I say, there are chemical things, hormone decline, that do that. There are stressors that also could add to that, but a little bit of a stressor is going to be a whopper of a problem when your hormones are low. A little bit of a stressor when your hormones are good and your DHEA and everything else is good range, it's not going to be, a big problem. It'll be a little thing. So that's why you want to fix it from the ground up so that you're creating, and you're repairing other things too when you fix the hormones. So you want to bring your body back to where you were a few years ago.
How do you decide when hormone replacement therapy is appropriate and when it isn't?
So there's always two things, blood tests and symptoms. So you typically might see people that have relatively good blood tests and their levels are not bad, but they have big symptoms. And you could see people that have lower blood tests and their symptoms aren't horrible. Either way, we track their blood, look at that, and make a simple recommendation like start with the DHEA, recheck their blood in a couple of weeks. If the estrogen, progesterone, testosterone are better and they feel better, great. You've proven that part of the picture. Now, if they're 50% better and we want to get them beyond that 50 to 80% better, we might need to add a little bit of testosterone as a sublingual or male testosterone shot or cream or gel. We may need to add the IGF-1 injectable. That's the growth hormone. So it depends upon what the benefit is from the initial step. Now, it obviously makes all the sense in the world not to give everybody everything at once, because then you don't know which is working, or you may not need to do everything at once. If you do the DHEA, as I've mentioned, that may give you significant benefit and can do well with that. And then as that shows its potential, it may not go past a certain point, then you can add the other things on. So some people are miserable and some people are not. But either way, looking at both areas allows us to understand the factual cause, the recommendation, and then the improvement.
Is there a safe way to use estrogen if someone like me has a history of breast cancer in the family?
So there are a lot of different comments about that. I went to a big conference a while back in Texas. And just as urologists that deal with prostate issues in men say that after 5 years of being free from prostate cancer, if you've had it removed, etc., then those urologists may be able to start doing some testosterone again. Some of the doctors in this course were saying that if you use the plant extract, bioidentical estrogen, you may be able to start that within 5 to 7 years after, being free. I'm not an endocrinologist. I'm not a breast cancer specialist. So I would defer to some of those specialists for their comment. So every woman I've ever seen as a patient already has their OBGYN and sometimes the endocrinologist. So we'd like to get their input. For those individuals, too, we might be able to just give them DHEA and have the balance in their hormonal symptoms, change. So it depends upon what the blood work shows. And some women will use black cohosh, black walnut, herbs and other natural substances to change some of the symptoms, too. So that could help. Also remember that as the estrogen, progesterone, testosterone drop in women, your bones become weaker, and that can cause osteoporosis. So in that case, we want to make sure your vitamin D levels are great and get you a little bit of the things that help to stabilize and correct your hormones. The question would be, how long ago was the breast cancer and how far out is a person when you want to treat them?
We got questions today, Doc.
Awesome.
Why does metabolism slow during menopause? How can I maintain a healthy weight during this phase?
Great question, because you're talking about all the metabolic stuff that I was going to talk about anyway, so now I don't have to read these stinky little typed reports and papers that I put together. And, the smaller the type, the harder it is to read over time. But so metabolism is a big word. Metabolism has to do with your rate of burning calories, called the BMR, basal metabolic rate. That's typically controlled by different really good hormones, thyroid, growth hormone, for men and women, some testosterone. So hormones will help you burn sugar and burn fat, even without doing too much activity. The more activity you do, if the hormones are good, you'll burn the sugar and fat better, and you will feel better metabolically. If we extend the term metabolic to a continuum over time, what's happening to your body in multiple areas, and we say good metabolism is good blood flow, is good vitamin, mineral, hormone levels, having the ability to burn sugar, burn fat, keep your weight to a tight range, being able to do the exercise and feeling great from that, brain function, organ function, all of that, we have to understand that the control there is in part from hormones. So if we get a person and we walk their hormone levels back to where they were 10 or 15 years ago, and now they want to do the exercise, and when they do the exercise, they feel good from it, and your vitamins are in great range. We may even put NAD on board, nicotine adenine dinucleotide, because that gives you great brain function, energy, the desire to get up and go and do things. You start to see metabolically that your body will do dramatically better, a great deal better. So as much as people like to use metabolism, and it has connotations in their understanding, which is obvious, I'd rather have the word metabolism have a more complete definition, has changed in your function, and why that's there, tell you why it's there, and then fix it. Just like someone talking about arthritis, or even worse now, the term inflammation. So inflammation's the biggest buzzword now because doctors and non-doctors are talking about it all the time. But you have to define it. Inflammation caused by this or caused by that. Because you can't just take a supplement because someone wants to sell you a supplement for inflammation unless you know what's creating it. If it's heavy metals, you got to get heavy metals out of the picture, and that decreases that cause of inflammation. If it's infection, if it's allergy, if it's any number of things, you have to be specific when you work on changing that. Otherwise, it won't change.
We got someone saying, I have not felt like myself. I don't know how to explain, but since I've started menopause, what's your advice on staying confident and grounded?
Yeah, so it's just learning about your body. So I love the interaction and I love the conversations with people when we do our consult, whether it's over the phone, but I like it still in person. I'm a much more, appreciative of the in-person discussions with patients. It's a lot more fun. So when we talk about emotionally and psychologically what's occurring, we can see how your body's changed. And just as with this article that I'm mentioning about the hormone decline in menopause, how it affects your brain, I want to know how it affects every part of your body. And look at your blood work and tell you, here, look, your blood work shows this. I think this is making your muscles weak. I think this is decreasing your brain speed and function. So we have to correct this vitamin or correct NAD. I think this is making you tired because your B12 is super low. Maybe you're having too much carb, and when you eat carb, your blood sugar goes up, it drops, you're exhausted from that. Let's cut the carbs back. Let's kick up the exercise, get more blood flow in. So it's a combination of things. That's the best way.
Well, this is my favorite question. Is there a scientific reason I suddenly hate everyone? Or is that just part of the charm?
Yes, because you watch too much TV.
Yeah, we've all gotten that.
Or social media. No, it's not unusual. So I think people have become a little bit more vocal about how they feel compared to years ago. And when people years ago would say, yeah, I'm achy, I'm crabby, I'm irritable, I'm this and that, and then working within that series of comments, people today, I hate everything, I hate everyone. I get it. Everybody has a time when they hate everything and hate everyone, but that could be a manifestation of irritability because of hormone decline. And then when you correct the hormones, like for men, they become anxious and irritable if their testosterone's not in a good range. Same thing with DHEA. With women, absolutely, estrogen, progesterone. And husbands will say, I hear this 6 days a week for 39 years, I was trying to be nice to my wife and she ripped my head off. I'm like, well, sometimes you gotta step back a little. But what happens when your hormones are low? You feel horrible. You're anxious. You're angry. You're everything that's not normal and relaxed and comfortable. But when you get those things back to normal, everything it just becomes calm and smooth.
We got comedians in the chat today. My thermostat and I are no longer on speaking terms. Should I start living in the fridge, or is there a treatment for this?
Well, the heat that you feel is because your body's trying to tell you that there's something wrong. So correcting the hormones takes away that constant heat issue. It's interesting because sometimes as people get older, they become, hot all the time. Other people are cold all the time. And people will say, I sit all day long at work with 2 heaters pointed at me to maintain my warmth. I say, well, you might be able to fix that a lot more easily without any risk of issue by looking at your blood and correcting your hormones. Some people are anemic or cold all the time. Correct the iron, get a better blood count, you do that much better. Some people also, and I don't want to forget an important add-on, as your brain changes and every single part of your body changes, what we call age is a continued chronic loss of new cell production. So when you get older, you're not making the new cells you made when you were a kid. When you're a kid and you're making trillions of cells every second and you have 100 trillion cells in your body, you're invincible. You could do all sorts of crazy things and you're fine the next day. When you get older, you walk 3 blocks or you play a little tennis and then you're stuck. You can't function. Or you play golf and your back is killing you because you took so many swings. But as you start to fine tune and repair your body, that changes. The other thing we talk about a lot with patients is as they age, because this is the answer to age-related loss of cells, in many cases is stem cell therapy, because that's the only thing that puts new cells back in that divide, that will go to your joint to repair your joint, can go intravenously to go to your heart, lung, liver, kidney, pancreas, your gut, go to your lungs, nasal, go to your brain and your eyes to put new cells there. So that's a fact of stem cell therapy that's been known for over 100 years. So in a perfect world, as we correct whatever cells you have left and they get fed the vitamins and the hormones, you'll see benefit. If you want to go beyond there, then putting more cells in is what stem cell therapy does. And why is this stupid thing popping up behind my neck all the time?
See, it's because you didn't let me.
Because I put it on
hook
myself.
He felt.
Don't want to look like an alien.
to
People are thinking that other people are lizards from another planet and aliens now. This is a whole big thing.
Oh yeah,
Don't want to look like a.
You gotta. Yeah.
What do they call them?
The reptilians.
Yeah, it's reptilians.
I got it. Yeah. As soon as I start seeing that, I got to put away Instagram.
Yeah.
We got. This is a great one. I love menopause. For some reason, I don't have any of those issues. I'm always cold. I was anemic before menopause, not anymore. Interesting.
Well, some people like it, and granted, a lot of women like it because they don't have to deal with what they may have had for many, many years, which is an annoying monthly cramping and pain and all the symptoms that come along with that. So, yeah, I get that. I just, in my mind, even if they're not having bad menopausal symptoms, I want to make sure their vitamins and minerals and at least some of the hormones are in good enough range to prevent osteoporosis and plaque and all sorts of other degenerative issues.
My husband said maybe just relax during a hot flash. If only he knew.
Okay, so that's probably one of the worst things you could say to a woman. Even if she's in a good mood. I've seen and heard this so many times before. Telling someone to relax is not a great idea necessarily. So I understand is probably a better term to use. Okay. What do you need? What would you like me to say or do? There's always a nice, softer approach, but
Yeah, you're asking for that one.
yeah, the eternal battle of the minds between men and women has always been and will always be. So it's just figuring out a better way to handle things, conversations. Too funny.
And then this is a follow-up from our viewer who enjoys the menopause. Said, I have uterine fibroid tumors. I suffered for almost 20 years, severe pain and hemorrhaging. Menopause gave me my life back.
Yeah, because excess hormone production, when the fibroids are there, will make them swell. And fibroids can be inside the lining of the uterus. They could be in the middle of the muscle, or they could be on the outside. And either way, they're going to create problems and pain and discomfort. Sometimes they grow so big, people can feel them. And it's a big issue. But when your hormones start to decline, they typically back down.
Well, I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, so hormone decline as some people get older is a good thing.
I opened the fridge and forgot why I was there twice. Should I just live in the kitchen now?
So the thought process depends upon vitamins, minerals. Absolutely, we know that. Hormones, neurotransmitters. So in a similar fashion, looking at your blood test tells us what's going on. I think one of the best things for word retrieval, focus, concentration is NAD. Nicotine adenine dinucleotide is a substance that is a cofactor for 500 different chemical reactions in your body. So evidenced by when we show people how to do it and they give themselves a tiny little shot into the sub-Q or near their belly or their leg. Some people do it in their arm. Within 15, 20 minutes, people say, I feel on. My focus is good. My concentration is good. I'm alert. I want to go exercise. And that carries throughout the day. Typically, those little injections are the tiniest drop of liquid in the tiniest 31-gauge insulin-sized needle. And people might do them every other day initially. Some people do them every day. But it's one of the things that critically brings oxygen into 36 molecules of ATP. So you're getting a massive amount of energy from that oxygen that your lungs are bringing in. And that conversion occurs when there's a lot of NAD around. You want a lot of it there. It also decreases a variety of other problems, helps organ repair, helps DNA repair. There are a lot of studies on this. And I think on this messy desk, I probably have some studies on NAD. I think we went over it a couple of shows ago, but it's absolutely a critically important substance to keep your brain and your body working well.
This is from Gloria in the chat. What can we do to improve hormones? I've always had a pretty low testosterone level.
Well, for women that have low testosterone, it's probably because their DHEA levels are low, and DHEA is a stress hormone. So the first thing we might do for women who have low testosterone is give them a capsule of DHEA. It's a vitamin. If they take it once a day and their testosterone comes up, invariably it does, you may go from a low testosterone, and the range of level for women is probably, as you get older, the expected level is somewhere between 10 and probably 50. But as you get older, you're not going to be at 50 at all. You know, younger women will be at 50 in their 20s and 30s, maybe a little bit higher, especially if you do exercise. But you want to be roughly 40. So if we can get your levels to 40 with the testosterone, which you've had your whole younger life, by just giving you DHA, great, that's all you need to do. If you can get to 20 with the DHEA, we might need to give you a little 5 milligram pellet of testosterone to dissolve under your tongue. And that you could take 3 times a week. You may take it every day depending upon your blood test, but that's the best way to correct it.
She said, mine is 24.
It's not bad, but you'd feel a lot better at 40. And you know, the subtle differences in my world, we talk about subtle differences. You know, a man whose testosterone is at 300, and the range as men get older could be 300 to 800, you're not doing well at 300. Your exercise and muscle response, your sexual drive, a lot of these things, your cholesterol, your fat, would typically still be an issue until you probably get to the 500, 600, 700 range. When you're there, that difference is a world of a difference. With vitamin D, which has hormone-like effects as well, if the levels in your blood or the range is 30 to 100, if you're at 30, 40, 50, that's okay. But when you get to the 80, 90, 100 range, you start to see all sorts of other benefits that don't occur at the lower level. So that's why I take the time to explain the difference between, oh, you're in a normal range, but you should be higher in that range. Traditionally, doctors don't even tell, oh, you're normal, don't worry about it. They'll look at a column and look to see if there's an abnormal, and then if there's none, they won't comment. But if you're at 32 and your D range is 30 to 100, you want to be close to 100.
What's the difference between testosterone and progesterone?
So each hormone has its own benefit. Testosterone does different things. Of course, you know, the estrogen rise and progesterone rise, and conception, when the estrogen goes up. And if conception occurs, the estrogen backs down a little bit, progesterone comes up. When conception occurs, you have stabilized hormones. If conception doesn't occur, then the progesterone comes up and helps to clean out the uterus. So there are multiple benefits there. There's also some cool benefits with progesterone levels in sleep for men and women. And for some men, you give them a capsule of progesterone at night and they sleep really well. So men need some of that, just like women need some testosterone. Testosterone primarily is, and so is progesterone, good for mood and sleep. But testosterone is great for muscle strength and stability, endurance, exercise capacity to desire sexual drive and function. So they have certain things where they overlap, but most of the things are separate.
All right. We're up to date on that. Great question so far, guys.
So a smart doctor takes many years to become a great doctor. And some people never become smart doctors, and some people never become great doctors. It's just the way it is. You have good and great and smart and not so smart in every industry, every realm. But I think a smart doctor, like any other job that you want to talk about, will always look for new information and always learn from everybody he speaks to. And I do that. Every patient I've ever seen, give me your perspective. Give me your discussion. Now that you're correcting this vitamin, this hormone, tell me what you feel. And you might hear things that you didn't hear from other people. So that could be a new thing that you've learned, which now you can tell someone else, hey, one of my patients, we did this, and now that's better. So it's a constant learning mechanism to be able to understand what people may see as benefit, and what people may see with the deficiency of something that other people may not see. So you can't just say it's only this or only that.
And this is a follow-up from the person that had the uterine fibroid tumors. They said, well, there's two parts. So hold on. Gotta
two-part questions. This is getting interesting.
Hold on. Sorry. All right. So they had first said fibroids are shrinking now, no more estrogen overproduction, and then said, will my fibroids eventually disappear?
I don't think they'll disappear because they've probably been there for a long time. There are two ways to look at that. If they're not that big and they're not giving you any significant discomfort or structural issues, some people have big fibroids and they cause pressure on other organs and affects your bladder and everything else. That's a problem. And even with the hormone decline, if the fibroids are creating that problem and they're outside the uterus, there are some brilliant doctors who decided to go in laparoscopically with the little tiny incisions and just laser the fibroid off. Gone. If it's on the outside of the uterus. If they're in the middle of the wall and they're inside, it's a little bit different. And then some women opt to have a hysterectomy where they have the uterus removed. But I tell them, leave the ovaries. Why would you take them if you don't, you don't need to take them? So it depends upon severity of problems and symptoms. There's some people who don't want surgery, don't want to do anything. And, they come in and they got this big rock in their belly. The uterus is supposed to be the size of a fist. And I may have a bigger hand than most, but uterus is supposed to be the size of a fist, especially as you get older. But, when it's really big, it may be causing problems, even just by the pressure onto other organs. So it may be worthwhile to have it removed.
And then they said, I had a 17-centimeter pedunculated fibroid tumor, a stalk.
Wow. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, 17 centimeters. 2.54 centimeters is an inch. So roughly about 8 inches.
Said it was the size of a cantaloupe. Whoa.
Wow. And it's pretty interesting. You'd never visited outer space and had never lived on a planet somewhere else. And I'm only kidding. There are some things that people just don't believe, and that's rare, but it does happen. Just like teratomas, there are women who get pregnant and or women who have pain many years later, and they find this thing in their abdomen or coming off the uterus. Sometimes it's ectopic. That's got hair, teeth, and other structures in it. It's a pretty wild thing called a teratoma. You could look that up online and see how freaky that looks.
Whoa. It's
like an undeveloped, it was going to develop, but then it stopped developing. Look up teratoma.
I'm okay for now.
Yeah.
I will.
If you put that up on screen, people will be like, It's like something out of science fiction. What was that movie with Schwarzenegger, Total Recall, and Quato popped out of his stomach, the little baby? It's all science fiction stuff.
That just a follow-up said it shrank after menopause, no more pain, but it was pure torture.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine. God bless you. I'll say that much. And I just want to say to our YouTube audience, I'm loving, these comments, usually we get this on Rumble on Saturdays. We're now getting them on Friday on YouTube. So
this is amazing. Beautiful. In 35 years of doing radio, I love doing radio. And the hard part about radio is that it was an hour long. I never did commercials because I just wanted to talk to people and answer questions, et cetera, like we're doing here. And the hard part was saying, I can't really go further to answer your questions because I'd have a board on the computer and the station would have all these calls, 10, 15, 20 calls kept coming on. So I couldn't take my time to answer calls here. At least we can do that. But that's why radio was a little difficult. You had to be a little bit more concise.
We like this venue.
The format's great. I've always loved the idea of this format. I just couldn't ever figure out. And even 10 years ago, as it started to evolve, I'm like, how do I do that? How do I get the word out? How do I get it all done? I can't do it on my phone. I'm not going to sit at my desk with some cheesy cell phone and a ring and everything else. I'm like, that would look horrible.
Got to do it right.
Then, of course, I met the great Frankie. The Wizard of Frank.
And then they said, your YouTube people love you too. I don't get notifications from Rumble. Yeah, Rumble sometimes gets a little finicky with the notifications.
So, yeah, for people that would like to see the Saturday show, it's a great show. It's similar. We have a huge following there, thanks to Frankie and our friends at Rumble. And now every Saturday at 2:30, they put my video live on their homepage, like a window. So if you go to the homepage, you'll see all sorts of people and their shows, which some are very interesting, some are a little bit
kooky,
to be polite. But that's fine. I mean, it's all about information. But they'll put me in that big window, so it's a big video of me doing the show. And they've allowed me to do whatever length of show we want to do, which is amazing. So we love the fact that I can just talk about a variety of things. You know, I imagine it's also uncensored. Not that I'm going to curse or, put up risque videos or anything like that. But I like the fact that people can ask the questions and say what they want to say. And we can answer that.
Yeah, especially in a world where censoring is quite often.
And we get calls from all over the place, all over the country. And to some of the patients that I've called on previous shows on Rumble, I wore a special shirt today because I'm a big fan of New Orleans. I don't know how many people have been to New Orleans, but I've been there many times. I love it. The smells, and you walk down the street, the gumbo and the crawfish and all this food and all the music is really great. It's just a charming place to go and have a nice weekend. So I've had my friends go there, tell them where to eat, where to stay. Last time I was there in, I think it was Memorial Day weekend, I stayed at the Monteleone, which is a beautiful old hotel, beautiful rooms. They have I can say the word beautiful too many times, a great rotating bar in one of their big rooms right on the street with a window on the street. And it's a carousel bar, so it rotates very slowly around the bar. So you sit there and, kind of goes around, and there's so much history there. 300-year-old buildings and beautiful, great food and stuff. And I decided to try gumbo twice a day to see where the best gumbo was. And there were top 3 or 4, which I have written down. One of them is a restaurant inside a hotel right on Bourbon Street. It's a corner building, beautiful, sort of a tan building, beautiful dark wooden shutters. Go inside, the hotel's here. There left is the restaurant, but for the life of me, I can't remember the restaurant right now.
It's because you were full to the brim.
I need to dose up my vitamins, but it was so delicious, it was ridiculous. Now, people down there, I'm 100% certain of this, never let the good spices and seasonings that are there leave New Orleans, because you can't get that flavor, that taste, or those foods anywhere else. So I remember going there, and it was just so good. Went back again for dinner the next night. So, it's unique. It's different.
Are you going to show us the shirt?
So, crawfish. Crawfish dancing.
How good is that?
So, one of my patients, Dennis, who's a really nice, funny guy, and he's got a laugh that's like a train horn, wears cool and funky socks, like crazy multicolored socks and things. I'm like, oh, yeah, all right. I'm going to New Orleans. I got to get some crazy socks. I bought crawfish socks. I bought gumbo socks. I bought Beavis and Butthead socks. I just bought crazy Star Trek socks, socks that are German Shepherd socks, St. Bernard socks, like Delilah. I just bought like 30 pairs of socks. And when I know he's coming in, I think he comes in on Thursdays, I'll wear my funky socks and go over to him and say, hey. And we just have a little thing going back and forth. But yeah, he's a very nice guy. And yeah, got to wear cool socks, cool shirts. Got to be a little different.
We got a comment. Nolans, N-A-W, Nolans.
Got to love it.
And then you can order those spices online, I'm hearing.
Yes, many of the ones that I see down there you can get, but some of them
they water them down a little
are hard to get. Tony, people in New Orleans say chachery, C-H-A-C-H-A-R-E-S, Chachere's chachery, is a really good Cajun boil and Cajun seasoning. It's just terrific. I don't know how they do it. There's another one called Slap Your Mama. Nothing against mamas. Nothing against slapping. But it's a terrific seasoning. And there are dozens of them that you can't find elsewhere. And some of them I looked online, you can't get them. So I have a direct hotline into the place where you can get the seasonings. There's one or two places down there where the entire storefront is everything seasoning. And you can get cool, what do they call those little wipes that you put in your kitchen over the...
Mopine?
No, like a little hand towel. Who's your crawdaddy? So I got some of those. You get, bottle openers and little trinkets that you can wear on your wrist. But, lots of interesting little things. But yeah, you can get all the seasonings there.
We may need to plan our next trip.
Yeah.
You can make your own blackening spice. It's mostly paprika and cayenne pepper.
Absolutely. Add a little of this, a little bit of that.
And alligator socks.
That's right. Some gator sauce. But yeah, I just love it. And then, you can sit outside and have a nice meal. You have lunch and you're listening to Louis Armstrong and all this amazing jazz music. Because the jazz just keeps playing and playing. So you have jazz head. You're like, yeah. You lean back and you're loving the music. And everybody look around like, yeah. I call it jazz head. Because they're all just eating and smiling and listening to the music. So, yeah, it's terrific. And I brought people down there that have never been there, never experienced it. And they're like, oh, my God, I never knew what gumbo was. I said, how can you not know what gumbo is? But the fish is really good. Redfish, blackfish, blackened catfish. So it depends what you like.
I only went once, and I was basically working most of the time. I had like one day to go to Bourbon Street, one night.
Yeah.
It was not enough.
Bourbon Street used to be a mess. Now the entire French Quarter is good. It's clean. There are a lot of good people hanging out, a lot of good stores. Restaurants are terrific. It's come back very big and is vibrant. I remember going down there many years ago when I was in medical school. Probably 86. Before we graduated, there was a conference. Went down there. It was like, at night, you're like, all right, I ain't going down that street. Who just crazy people, drunk and spilling things. And then you had all these big guys on these gigantic horses, police coming in to quell the crowd. I'm like, all right, I don't need to get caught up in something.
Right.
But now they still have the gigantic horses. I've never seen horses that big in my life, like the ones we talked about before. Percherons and Belgian draft horses. Like, no one in their right mind would cause a problem when a police officer is sitting on top of a massive horse. But it's all clean and neat and beautiful.
Yeah. I did go into one bar, though, where, it was clearly one of those locals only kind of bars. Yeah. So I was just looked at, like, it almost felt like American Werewolf in London
what
when
you
he
doing
walks
here?
in.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, what are you doing here?
What do you want? Nothing? I don't know.
But some of them go back to the time when Hemingway and Faulkner and all these famous authors and stuff would be hanging around there. Even earlier than that, back 300 years ago, and they were drinking absinthe, which is supposed to be a wickedly powerful, mind-bending drink, which I've always wanted to try.
I tried it in Europe just for, it's absinthe, and it was always over there, and it was just like very licoricey grossness.
Yeah.
And it didn't, I didn't start
It's not the real thing,
hallucinating.
because apparently you drink that, you got to have like 6-8 hours to just devote to figuring out what's going to happen to you. Let's see. Interesting study on cardiovascular benefits of walking. So this was a study. Part of it's a little embarrassing, but it talks about the different ranges of walking and how much benefit they created. And it's obvious the more you walk, the more the benefit. Vascular benefits, organ benefits, every part of your body benefits because you're delivering flooding oxygen and all your nutrients and vitamins and hormones to your cells. So I don't know how or why they would do this part, but part of the study in the first group was 5 or less than 5 minutes of walking. That's not even walking. What's 5 minutes? I don't understand what that's supposed to be.
That's me on a phone call.
It's not walking. And you're taking a few steps, and what can that really do? Nothing. Then they had the 15-minute group, the half-hour group, and the larger group, more than that. I mean, why would you even include 5 minutes? It's almost like saying, why would you include that?
Yeah.
You want, in what I tell patients, 30 to 45 minutes. You've got to be at least 30 minutes. If you can, 45. If you can, an hour. Go walk with your neighbors. Go do stuff with other people. And all of a sudden, it's an hour activity, and you didn't realize it because you were talking. which there are some people listening who talk a great deal.
Uh-oh.
Some people who like to talk. Not going to mention those people, but they know who they are.
I'm waiting for them in the comments.
So, yeah. One of those persons is coming up with a birthday soon.
Oh. I think I know who you're talking about.
Not to mention. A little funny story. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but in earlier days when phones didn't have capacity that they have now and call waiting, if someone's on the phone with their first cousin from New Jersey or some distance, and they're on the phone for 3 hours and your friends are trying to call and you can't get through, and now it's tough. And there are 3 kids trying to figure out how to get together with their friends to go out and play. Just going to mention that.
Is walking actually enough exercise, or do we all need to be doing burpees in our living room?
I think at the very least, everybody should walk a half hour a day, because the benefits that we always see when people do that are really important for you to have all the time, you know? So think of this. If you're taking vitamins or good vitamins, or you're correcting your hormones and you're not walking, they're kind of sitting there and they're not being delivered to all your cells. You have 100 trillion cells in your body. If you do the activity, walk, bike, anything you're doing, it's delivery. It's absolute flooding and delivery. So a half hour of day gets you into the zone of your muscles heating up. And if you're moving your arms, I mean, swimming is a phenomenal activity because it's every muscle of your body. But you're burning sugar, you're burning fat, you're delivering, you're repairing, you're getting rid of waste products of metabolism. You're stimulating cells to become stronger and heal and develop stamina. You're stimulating your blood vessels to quickly learn how to dilate when you're doing an activity. If you're sitting around doing nothing and you start doing activity, your blood vessels are not going to be trained to dilate right away to accept the blood flow. But the more activity you do, the more you do that. So at least a half hour every day, I tell people to do. Could be first thing in the morning. Get up, get on your elliptical, treadmill, bike, whatever. Then get showered, get dressed, go to work. You know, your day starts better when you do the exercise first thing. Some people can't do that. They rush out to work. Maybe they go walk during lunchtime or do something when they get home in the afternoon, but you got to put it in. Critically important.
This is a good question. Does walking count the same as running if the distance is the same, or does speed matter?
So it's interesting. You might think that running is going to be a far greater difference than walking. But for a moment, think about running is creating, you're propelling yourself step to step. So yes, there is a strength and there is certainly cardio benefit, but, the pushing to move. But while you're getting ready to take the next step, you're really not doing anything, but you're taking the next step and the next step. So of course there's benefit to it. Some people that love to race walk, which is the funniest walking you'll ever see. It's like something out of Monty Python, where they're really pulling on the ground, and...
Oh, is that when people have like the ski poles?
Yeah, either ski poles or a lot of people that do race walking. I don't know why. And I've seen this in the city and sometimes out here. In the warmer months, they wear the shortest shorts you could possibly imagine. And they're getting a good glute workout because you see their glutes contracting. Like, who wants to see their glute contracting back and forth? But it's a good workout because it's more muscle metabolic activity because they're kind of grabbing and pulling on the ground as opposed to propelling like with with running. And running certainly is terrific, and the people who can do that's great. But I see a lot of people who just can't run because either their health status, their heart, their joints are not necessarily, okay with that. Riding a bike, I think, is great. And the difference in riding a bike is, in the way that I do it, is I don't, coast. If you're on the bike, you can get to ride it for a half hour, ride the bike, constantly pedal. Don't pedal and then coast down the hill because then there's zero effect when you're coasting down the hill. So keep changing the gears on the bike. When you're going up the hill and you get your gears down low and you're struggling a little bit and you get up, if you start to go down, put the gears up higher so that you're still pedaling. You constantly want to pedal for the entirety of the activity. And people love all sorts of different activities, but whatever you like is, what you should do. But do as many different things as you can. because walking alone is great, but you want to do other things too because it cross-trains and creates more result.
Does walking after meals really help with blood sugar, or is that just a TikTok trend?
It does. I think every civilization since the beginning of time where people have had something to eat and they get up and they go for their walk, the Italians call it the passeggiata.
The passage? Is that what that is?
The passage. And some people, the old folks would walk arm in arm and stroll. It's just a way to help your digestion. And it does take some of what you're bringing into your bloodstream and burn it for the fuel. And people will typically have better blood sugars when they do that. They'll also have better blood sugars if they walk before the meal, after the meal, the next morning, whatever, because your muscles are constantly looking to burn, sugars and fats for fuel. So anytime you could exercise is good. I wouldn't go crazy after a big meal and, knock yourself out. On Tuesdays, I don't have dinner before I go to a karate workout because I can't do a vigorous or strenuous karate workout on a full stomach because your stomach is now sequestering the blood flow to get all the good foods and nutrients from your meal. So your skeletal muscle doesn't get the same kind of flow because you're preferencing, the food coming into your stomach. So I'll eat afterwards.
The one thing about where I live, it's like I just wish there was like restaurants that are like quarter mile away where you could just walk there, walk back. That's like when you're in Italy. You feel so good because you're walking there, you're walking back, and it just
and there's so many great things to look at. I mean, I've been there many times, and every time I have, and the same thing with Spain and France and a lot of the countries. I haven't been to everyone, but you leave the hotel, you ask the concierge, where's the best place for this, for that? They tell you, and you walk there. And you're looking at all these beautiful buildings and these sites and these flowers, and it's so much more visually beautiful there. Of course, all the old buildings, that you don't mind that walk. And you're not eating a huge, horrible, super carb, crazy meal like you would over here. And you have a nice meal, you're full, and you walk back and you feel great. So that's some exercise before the meal and after the meal. What could be better with that? That's why the majority of people over there are lean compared to people over here eating all the big junk food and, super carb and fat and salt meals.
Is walking on the treadmill the same as just taking a walk? What are your thoughts on that?
So, yeah, if you're walking flat on the treadmill, and you're walking flat on a street or, down the block, the advantage of the treadmill is if you want to pick up the speed or you want to pick up the angle of elevation, you could do that. And there are some people who will walk flat on the treadmill, and I tell them to do, 3 minutes at one speed, then for a minute go faster, then back down to the one speed, maybe 3 miles, 3.5 miles an hour. Then for a minute go, faster than that. So go up to 4, go up to 4.5, keep varying the speed so you get more of a workout. Then you could raise the treadmill and increase the elevation, which is more of a workout. Sometimes you can't really do that unless you live in a very hilly area. So there are benefits to having the treadmill or the elliptical due to those things.
We have another comment back to our New Orleans talk. Said, the secret to blackening food is the cast iron pan. Spice the food first, then dunk it in melted butter. Get the pan real hot, but it will get smoky.
He sounds like a chef.
Oh, yeah. I'm
intrigued. No, I absolutely. The iron skillet's probably one of the best ways to cook anything. And over the years, I've had a lot of friends, and even past, decade, friends that are Michelin chefs, and cooking meat, lamb, steak, whatever, over flame will typically, can char the outside, but you're losing a lot of the natural juice, or you're maybe boiling inside because there's still some blood in there. That's why when the best steak places will dehydrate the steak, they're getting rid of the blood inside the middle of the steak so that when the steak is cooked, it's cooked through. The other issue is that if you buy a skillet, which I bought, a Blackstone griddle, which you can cook anything on, the difference in the outcome is unbelievable. You go from having, a nice grill flamed steak or meat And when you have it on the griddle, you don't lose any of the juice. It's juicier. The flavor's better. It's just a different thing. That's why they, in restaurants, use iron skillets. There's also a third way to cook things, meat and otherwise, and vegetables, called sous vide, where you take a pasta pot and you hang the sous vide device on the edge of the pot. It heats up the water to an exact 150 degrees, swirls the water. You can then take, and some people will shrink wrap to freeze vegetables or different foods, put them in the packets, and then put them in that water for a specific amount of time where it evenly cooks that food. You take it out, and it's perfect. You could sear something like steak or meat, but it's a great way to make food, and you're not burning and losing all of the benefit, the juices and the flavor. It's just as juicy as could ever be. So there are a lot of different ways to prepare food.
Yeah, that Blackstone griddle you got in the back. It's like on my list when I actually have a house of my own. That will be my first
absolutely.
purchase.
You came over to the party. I mean, we had a lot of people there. We had the greatest steak and the greatest,
Chops.
Lamb from the restaurant. So
I'm still thinking about it.
it's just a different world, So, yeah, certain things, you have certain devices at home, whether it's for cooking or your exercise equipment, just makes life easier and better.
Up to date.
That being said, we haven't mentioned the website, of course. I keep forgetting every week to do this. Website is drcalapai.com. Take a look at the videos. The website has a lot of good information on it. Garden City office is 516-794-0404. And at the web, you can email us, which we typically receive lots of emails every day, and we answer back your email. The easiest thing is not for people to give us a page-long worth of history because I can't do a consult just by trying to answer your email. So we either set up the consult with telehealth, where we can talk over the phone. I have everything that I speak into my computer, so it gets all documented and dictated through. Or people come into the office, we get your blood done and set you all up. The vitamin packs we're doing wonderfully, exclusively, where based on your blood test, whether it's telehealth or in-office visit, we get your blood work done based upon our discussion, and we see what your vitamin levels are and what you're eating, correct your nutrients. Based upon that, I'll put the nutrients into the pack, so the morning pack and evening pack, you're covered based upon your blood test and your medical concerns. And then a month or so into that, we would recheck your blood to make sure all your vitamins are in perfect range, and they'll stay there. So that's one of the more important things that we do.
Couple more here. First of all, you were right with the cooking. Said I worked in bars and restaurants my whole life. They taught me how to cook everything. Cajun too. I bought the cookbooks from Big Daddy's restaurant, and Cajun food has a lot of ingredients you cannot find.
Oh, I love it. Just love it. And the more I talk, I'm like, all right,
I'm hungry. Yeah.
I got to get a weekend back down to New Orleans again.
And then another question, is the climate changing around stem cells and their effectiveness?
So the change in the conversation with stem cells has become a great deal more positive over the past few years. There are millions of studies on stem cell therapy on the internet, and you could go to Google Scholar and look up stem cell therapy. You could look up stem cell for diabetes or stroke or any of the diseases. The literature's there. Usually, forward-thinking doctors, and there are a lot of forward-thinking doctors, not as many as I would like, will do some great studies, great research, and show this. And there are a few doctors like myself who actually treat patients and do this and show it and prove it. The old school doctors who were trained many years ago, who are only likely to look at you and recommend a drug for every symptom, are not going to read and learn and want to change their view or their whole concept about how to evaluate and treat a patient. So they'll still be more likely to talk about meds. Younger doctors that have become specialists, neurologists, diabetologists, orthos, I get referrals from, which wasn't happening years ago, but the younger guys are just so tech savvy and research savvy, and they'll get on their phone or their iPad and pop up an article if a patient asks them about stem cell. wait, let me take a look at some of the latest info for your condition. They'll look at that and they'll refer patients to us. And there have been neurologists that have seen my stroke patients and have referred lots of patients because they saw the results that we were getting. So that part has opened up somewhat. There's no concerted effort, and I had to say this correctly, that is trying to stop stem cells, but the powers that be may not like it, and they may try to make it hard for people to get stem cell therapy because they're so invested in this massive mechanism that has been ongoing for many years and don't want that to change. They don't want to change the status quo.
And then specifically, they said, I see organizations like Mayo post reports of ineffective without ever even being studied.
So, yeah, that's like saying that injectables are safe and don't cause any side effects in kids. I mean, you have organizations that just want to have their info out there and make you turn away from something that clearly has worked for many, 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 many years, many decades. Think of it, your own cells repairing your own body. There's no gigantic jump of understanding there. That's what those cells do. And given the option, for example, of being a diabetic, and the traditional mechanism is they don't change your diet. You still eat whatever you want. I've seen this for 39 years. They'll give you meds. They don't get you to exercise, teach you how to exercise, tell you what to do, get this bike, pop it in your house, put it in front of the TV, a little exercise bike, treadmill, whatever, go to the gym. There's no one giving them that impulse or that impetus. And the people are not exercising, they're not eating right, they're not taking vitamins, which would help. They're not correcting their hormones, which would help. And they're on meds, shots, insulin, and they get worse. And I had this conversation with 2 consults the other day that thought they were in control of their blood sugar. I said, well, your fasting sugar is 200. That's not control. And for some of them, we put them on that device. You pop it on their arm, the continuous glucose monitor, and we see they're not in control. But the doctor says, oh, you're in control. I'm like, you're really not in control, which means that you have excess sugar floating around, which will damage your nerves, your organs. For some people, they go blind from diabetes. It's a major cause of blindness, heart attack, stroke, plaque, kidney failure, heart failure. I mean, all these things. So it's misleading to think that you can just take meds and that will be the most of what you could do. No. Low-carb diet, exercise, correct vitamins, minerals, hormones, and then again, use your own cells to put new cells into your bloodstream to go to your organs, to go to your pancreas, to make brand new pancreas cells that make insulin. That's a great deal smarter than the opposite idea. I mean, you can't really argue that.
Got one more question in the tank. I see a lot of people advertising stem cells from other people. Why aren't they using the patient's own stem cells?
Well, because they don't want to take an expensive course or learn how to do something that's going to cost them more to have to do it. It's easy to have a company come to you and say, hey, we've got umbilical cord or amniotic fluid. Buy it from us, blah, blah, blah. But as I've mentioned for many years that I've been doing this, the FDA does not approve that. So sooner or later, you're going to get hammered one way or the other. I've seen that happen over the years. When you're taking someone else's cells, your body could and would reject it. They're foreign. When you're taking someone else's cells, you don't know the genetics of that individual. You don't know the infection history. You don't know how many cells you're getting from that piece of the cord. You don't know how old that cord is. You don't know who's taking care of that cord. You don't have any of that information. That's why the government doesn't want it, doesn't allow it. That's why it's not. If you were to ask the FDA, they would tell you the only thing that they agree with is your own bone marrow, removed, spun, and put back in. They call that minimal manipulation. I agree that you shouldn't manipulate. You don't need to manipulate. you don't need to try to expand and do all these other things to those cells, but they allow removal, spin, and reinjection. The only thing they allow. They don't like fat cells because you have to add fat. You have to add collagenase to the stem fat mixture to break down the collagen better to get more stem out. But the FDA has maintained, well, yeah, that's making the stem cells into a drug, which is giving you an interesting insight as to what they're trying to do, because they're working, for big mama, papa, big pharma, I think. So the FDA sued a Dr. Berman in California, plastic surgeon. Everybody does fat cells, lipo, and does stem, uses collagenase. There's no reason why it couldn't. It's a natural ingredient. But that's why they're trying to give those doctors a problem. But your best cells are your cells from your body. No risk, no downside. That's been researched for many years.
Looks like we're up to date.
Awesomeness. So once again, if you'd like to call us, we'd love to hear from you. If you're out of state and you can't get to the office, we've made available for years now the telehealth consult. You can do that. Call the office, set you up. We'll send prescriptions to get your blood work done. And then within a week, go over that recommendation, give you some guidance, recommend your nutrients, get you on the vitamin pack if you like, hormone replacement, set you up for all of that. So that's one of the things we're doing a great deal of. Thank you for listening. God bless you all. Have an amazing day. And
tomorrow,
please listen tomorrow at 2:30. You could watch on YouTube. You can go to Rumble, LFA, and watch us there because our video is right on their front page. The other platforms, if you're listening, you could watch them on all the platforms, I guess. But we're trying to break 200,000 views. Our biggest number a couple of weeks ago was 180,000. That was within one day of doing the show. So I love doing it. We want you to watch, tell your friends, family, ask questions. Start writing your questions down now, and you could ask us questions tomorrow. So this is what I'm here to do, and we love doing it. Thank you so much.
And happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.